Hello all, Jamie here for Craftmania, and today I have got a very exciting bundle to introduce you to. Now this is a bundle that I've been waiting patiently to get my hands on, very excitedly, and finally the time has come for me to be able to bring you some inspiration with it. But before we jump in, please make sure that you have hit subscribe and tap the bell to be notified of all of our future videos if you're watching us here on YouTube. And of course, if you're watching us on one of our other social platforms, please make sure that you've liked, followed, subscribed, all of that gumption, so that you don't miss out on any of the content we like to bring you here at Craftmania. Now, today's bundle genuinely is something I have been looking forward to getting my hands on for weeks, and I do mean weeks, and finally the time has got here that I can bring you some inspiration with Andy Skinner's gorgeous robot stamps. Now there are 6 in this release. Now you may remember we did a video not that long ago with Andy's first release, the sort of very Banksy-esque images that he brought out as stamps. I loved them, and I know you loved them too. We couldn't keep up with demand for literally months. I have a feeling once you see how easy these are to work with, what you can be creating with them, you're going to fall in love with these ones just as much as you did those ones, if not more, because these are so cute, so adorable. And I feel with these, they're going to come in handy for your men's cards, your teenagers' cards, but equally Valentine's cards and sort of lots of different occasions throughout the year, but a lot of people as well. Sometimes we struggle a bit, don't we, when knowing what to do for certain people. This imagery is so cute, so on point, so modern, that I think you could use it for just about anybody. Now, of course, you're going to need to know where do we go to get hold of these, and I'll take you through these. I'll show you lots of examples in a moment. I promise I'll tell you more about our bundle pricing. But before we do any of that, let's tell you where you can find these items. Pop onto the website, www.craftmaniacrafts.com. When you land on the website, have a little look on the menu for the word YouTube. Give that a click, and it'll take you through to a page. And on this page, we have all of the different YouTube videos laid out, or shot tabs for each of the videos laid out. So you'll see a little picture of the robot collection. Give that a click, it will take you through to a new page, and on that page everything we talk about in today's video will be listed for you. So whether it's the inks, the dyes, the stamps, it'll all be there. So you don't have to go searching for anything around the website. It'll all be on that one page for you. We stock over 10,000 items at Craftmania, and sometimes it can be a bit daunting trying to find the one thing you're looking for. So if we can, we'll put them onto pages for you. There is a direct link to that page in the description of this video to simplify it even further. But if you get stuck, please let us know and we'll give you a hand to find where you need to go. Now, of course, you need to know about our postage. So if you spend over £10 and you live within the UK, your P&P is completely free, and that will give you second class P&P. If you wish to, whether you spend over £10 or under £10, you can upgrade to first class P&P for £3.95. If you wish to spend under £10, maybe you just want to buy one of the stamps, that's absolutely fine. Your P&P is £2.95 for second class, or £3.95 for first class. Then, of course, internationally, we ship all around the world on a daily basis. So if you're watching us from another country, do not fear, we can of course send these goodies to you. Our international shipping is capped at just £10. So you pay £10, and then whatever it costs above that, we here at Craftmania pay that for you. If it miraculously costs less than £10, we will refund the difference to you. Being honest with you, that is very, very rare, because of international P&P charges from here in the UK are extortionate. But we like to do our bit and make sure that you can get your hands on these goodies wherever you are in the world. So let's delve in and have a little look at this collection, because these are absolutely gorgeous. Now, I've of course got inspiration to share with you from the collection as well, but I'm going to take you through them one by one just to begin with. So our first one here is Spread a Little Kindness. So we see our lovely little robot. I'm going to call him Sebastian because that's my favourite name. So we've got little Sebastian robot sat on the bench here. I don't know what Andy calls them. Andy probably has his own names for them, but to me this one's going to be Sebastian from here on in. So Sebastian sat here on his little bench with his bird seed, feeding his little birdie, his little like mechanical birdie, which reminds me of the tiki rums at Disney World. I don't know why, but it does. but you've got this beautiful imagery. You've then got your sentiment. Now these are separate stamps, so that's not joined to your main image. It's its own stamp in its own right. These are mine, by the way, so if they look a bit dirty, it's because I've put them back in the pack, so I can talk to you more about those in a moment. But yours, of course, will come brand new and clean. So this one is saying, its little sentiment, spread a little kindness every day. Now I love the way Andy's done his sentiments. Not only are they a really cool font, but the way he's kept them separate means that you could use this on its own for different projects, or you could use it with the other stamps. It doesn't just have to be with this one. You might wish to sort of yo-yo between the different designs. But that's our first one, spread a little kindness. Then we've got time together. Again, beautiful stamp. So this time we see our little robot, different robot, but we're still going to call him Sebastian. Sebastian sat on a swing this time with a little robot teddy beside him. And down here we've got time together is never wasted. Lovely sentiment, great sentiment. As a scrapbooker, I can see me using that on lots of pages throughout my scrapbook, maybe for a journal, that's going to come in handy as well. We then have this one, this is cute. Look at our little robot in the bathtub. I'm not convinced, just to be honest with you, that bathtubs and robots would go together. I have a feeling Sebastian might get a bit rusty, but you know, in the world of craft, we can be a bit poetic, can't we? So of course, this time we have got our Sebastian in the bathtub with his bubbles, and underneath his sentiment is wash your worries away. And I say underneath, don't forget, separate sentiment. So just because it's shown underneath, you could have this anywhere you want to have it, or maybe not use it at all and use one of the other sentiments, or just keep them sentiment free. Then we move on to Big Sebastian and Little Sebastian talking to Mini Sebastian, all sat on what looks like a little bit of sort of rock or wood, maybe, depending on what you'd like to colour it in as. Underneath, you've got the sentiment, it's good to make new friends. And I think that's lovely. I'm going to lift this up so you can see how sort of small Sebastian is looking at Mini Sebastian. I don't know why we've called it Sebastian. We really should have just called them robots, but never mind. But I love that little connection. I think that's so lovely. Then you've got the umbrella and all the artwork's done for you, all the shading's done for you. And I'll talk more about this when we get on to showing you samples. But as somebody who can't colour for toffee, I love the way that Andy has shaded these because it just gives you that beautiful effect without you actually having to do a lot of work. Then you've got Rainy Day. Now, who doesn't love a robot jumping in a puddle? And Sebastian is clearly having the time of his life here. Underneath your little mini expression is when life throws you a rainy day, splash in puddles. That's a great little one for us all to remember, isn't it? Who's had a bad day and forgot about the joy of splashing in the puddles? I think that's a great sentiment and a little reminder to us all, that sort of half glass empty, half glass full idea. But again, take away that sentiment and you've got just the most beautiful little expression that I could send to my nephew, I could send this to my niece, I could send this to my partner. You know, it's just one of those, isn't it? And it could be coloured in so many ways. Then this one, I love this. You think of all your modern wedding invitations or modern anniversaries or Valentine's Day for your partner. You know, these two little Sebastians, Mr. and Mrs. Sebastian, forgot about that. We need a name for this one. Let's call her Doris. So we've got Sebastian and Doris now, holding hands, very happily in love with their little hearts on their bodies. And you've got them sort of surrounded in their little collection of bits and bobs as well. I just think this is gorgeous. It reminds me of me and Pete. I don't know why, but it just shows you how you've got that kind of romantic, loving vibe, even through our sort of rustic robots. I love this collection, genuinely, truthfully. This is something that when I see it appear and see it was coming, I was genuinely excited to get my hands on this and start playing with them. And I hope you're feeling the same, because to me, this doesn't matter if I'm doing a page, a piece of home decor, a journal, an album, all of the artwork runs through together. You know, the robots aren't identical, and I quite like that actually, but the styling is identical. So if you wanted to make a little storybook, you wanted to make a little album, you wanted to run these through every element of a project, it's going to work. It's going to clearly uniform your project and work together. And to me, that's really exciting. So when we delve into these, there's a couple I wanted to highlight and bits I wanted to share with you. So these are made of red rubber. They're pre-mounted onto foam and pre-cut. Now, I've actually had a tour when I worked for Creative Expressions of how they are made. And to be honest, it was fascinating. As somebody who loves to see behind the curtain and to see how things are constructed, I often watch them sort of how it's made shows where they go into the factories and have a little look at how a golf ball's made, things like that. So to actually see these come together was really fascinating. Now, again, a little thing, and I'm not the best for stamps, so especially when we go into rubber stamps, I use them, I love them, but there's an avid following to rubber stamps. And I know some of you will join in with this chat in the comments, I'm sure. But for a lot of years, Creative Expressions rubber stamps were made of grey rubber. And just recently, they've upgraded to red rubber. Now, as I say, I'm not somebody who's completely in the know. I know what I'm told, but I'm not necessarily in the know with this. But I'm told and have picked up that red rubber is by much more a favourable colour of rubber. I believe it's down to the detailing that you can achieve with red rubber over grey rubber. You'll have to help me here in the comments. But anytime we're talking about rubber stamps, you can achieve a lot more detail on rubber stamps than you can acrylic stamps. You can also do more techniques with them being rubber stamps than what you can clear stamps. Now, especially when we're looking at these sort of mixed media imagery and this sort of more grungy, perhaps, way that you might want to be working with them, this opens up heat techniques, for instance. So if you want to take your stamps and you want to stamp down into UT or embossing powders and create effects like that, then red rubber or rubber stamps in general will stand up to that more than acrylic stamps will. You don't want to damage your stamps, you want them to last, and this is a way that they're going to last. So when you purchase these, they're going to come to you, and I've kept one in just so I can show you this. They're going to come to you with a white layer over it. Think of this like your double-sided tape or your foam tape. There's like a protective film, a protective cover that goes over the top of the stamp. So when you receive this, you simply just peel that off and you will reveal the grey foam. This will then stick to your stamp presses, your stamp blocks, whatever it is you're usually, please excuse my very dirty press, I didn't think on showing you this, but it will stick onto there and it will then be perfect for you to stamp with. Just like your acrylic stamps, if you get some embossing powder on here or some dust or some dirt or some ink and they lose their stick, then just wash it under the tap. That will take that away, it will be clear again, and then they will start clinging back onto your presses, your platforms, your blocks, whatever it is you're working with. Now, some people choose to keep hold of this little white piece of protectiveness and place it back over. Personally, life is too short for that in my world, and none of mine have and never will do again. But if you want to, you can do. It's there, and if you're clean and tidy, then you might want to, and it's nice to know that you can. So you've got 2 stamps per set, and that's really what I wanted to show you, 2 separate stamps that you can work with. These sentiments are quite cool because not all of them, but some of them you're going to find, especially the longer, thinner ones, they've got a bit of maneuverability about them. So if you wanted to sort of arc them slightly, I'm not, depending on which one, you might find that you could arc them round and create kind of very cool borders and bits to them. So yeah, play with those, see how you get on. But there are 6 different designs, as I mentioned, and I want to share with you lots of inspiration with these. So let's show you some inspiration from them, shall we? So let's start off with our lovely little Better Together robots. So I've got 2 cards for each one to give you an idea here. Now, as I mentioned, and this is the truth, I promise you, I am not a colorist. I'm really not. And you've probably seen my work for many years, hopefully, if you've been following me for a while. Hands up, there are things in life we're good at, and there are things in life we can get away with, and there are things in life we're bad at. I would probably count myself as bad to get away with, that sort of middle level. Certainly no any good when it comes to colouring, painting. And I tend to try and shy away from it. And you've probably seen that in a lot of my work previously. Unless I can find something that can make it look good, and that's usually a technique in which I can add a glaze or a varnish or a glitter over the top of what I've painted or coloured to give it a sparkle or a shimmer to distract the eye away from my colouring. When you look through these samples, I haven't done that because I haven't needed to. And I'm genuinely going to say this, and you might get them and disagree, but I don't think you will. I think you're going to side with me on this. The way Andy's designed these stamps, the way he's put in the shading, the way he's put in the detailing, I don't think you could colour these wrong. And I'm going to give you this card as a little example, because if you look at this, I'm going to try and get as close as I can. All I've done is taken a sort of creamy coloured alcohol marker and gone all over the image. I've then picked up a more sort of darker beige colour And everywhere that Andy has put little black marks, little lines, little dents, little bits of rust, whatever you want to call it, I've gone over it with that darker colour. I've added a small amount of blue to his eye, and the heart that's stamped, bearing in mind the heart stamp's quite dark, I've just taken a red alcohol marker and coloured over the heart. I've then done a bit of grey across the bottom, a little bit of the blues and the reds throughout the tins and the bits that are around them, just to bring those colours in. And it is as simple as that. Nothing complicated, no blending, no technique really, just a bit of scribbling and playing. And that's what I love, because I think this card looks quite lovely. I'm not blowing my own trumpet because I'm not very good at that, but it looks kind of cool, but without me actually having to be an artist. And I look at the artwork, because these have been out a little while, the artwork Andy's done with them, I look at it and I think, I can't do that. I'm not an artist. And that actually, and I'll be honest, that kind of put me off in a little way, because I thought, well, there's no way I'm going to make them look as good as that. And if I do them for a video, I'm going to be sort of like embarrassed to show you, knowing that you're probably going to see Andy's artwork on the website, because all of his cards are up there with the stamps. You can go through them and see them, and the DT from Creative Expressions as well. And I was like, I don't want to look an idiot. I don't want to look, like absolutely useless. So hands up, I'm not good at colouring, but there's ways and means and types. So I started playing with these, and I was like, hang on a minute. I'm not a colourist, I'm not brilliant, but I've made these look all right. I'm happy with this, hence the video. So that's our first one, Better Together, as I mentioned. So if you're like me and on the fence about colouring, jump in, have a play, see how you get on, because I think you're going to love them. Then we've got another one from this one. So I've gone for blue and pink, just because of, if you want to go for the sort of course they could be man and man, woman and woman, it's the 21st century, whatever you want them to be, especially when we're talking about robots. But of course, if you do want to go for your sort of blues and pinks, then there's nothing wrong with that either. Play. When I did mine, I put in a little smudge somewhere, over here somewhere, I think. And I decided I didn't like the smudge. I'm going to see if I can find it. Around here somewhere, I put a little black smudge. I've gained a new smudge over here I didn't know about, but that's probably because I've laid the stamp on top of it at some point. But I made a little smudge, and I thought, well, how am I going to disguise the smudge in the background? So I bought in my stencil. This is one of our heart stencils. I can't even remember the proper name for this, sorry. But it'll be on the page, so you don't have to worry. You'll be able to find it easily. So I've bought in the stencil. I've placed it down, and then I bought in elephant grey quick dry pigment ink, and I did a little bit of blending over the top. And then we take that away, and suddenly that smudge, which is over here somewhere, I can't even see it now. This new smudge, I don't know what I'm going to do about that. We'll worry about that later. But it does show you how you can just blend them in, bring in your stencils, bring in your other bits, add them details into the backgrounds if you would like to. So that was our Better Together stamp. That's just one of your 6. Then we move, I love this one. This is our Wash Your Worries Away stamp. So we go back to our lovely little Sebastian in the bathtub with his little expression, wash your worries away. So a couple of cards to share with you on this one. So again, very simple, just colouring in with an alcohol marker, literally like a light brown going over the bathtub, and then a sort of goldy coloured alcohol marker, adding in some of the shaded bits, a light blue one colouring in the bubbles, and then just 2 shades of grey used on Sebastian. I kept it very plain and simple. I added in a little stamp, sort of wrap round for wash your worries away. Job done. Then we move on to this one. So this one again, wash your worries away. We've got our bathtub. This time Sebastian's gone a little bit more sort of rusty. We've added in some red detailings. We've gone for a blue bathtub with blue bubbles and a few little bits of added detail down here. For this one, I wanted it to look like he was in the bathroom. So I bought in our diamond stencil and I placed that over the top. And I did a little bit of ink in again with our elephant grey ink pad and our black one, which is called Black Panther, to just try and tone those down a little. When I removed the stencil and then blended around the edges with the same grey, trying to cover up the tiles a little bit at the bottom here, you might just about see them, but I wanted to try and fade those out so it didn't look like the wall was tiled and the floor was tiled with the same tile. So I tried to intensify the grey slightly more so it does look like the bathtub sat on the bathroom floor, but behind it is the wall with the tiles. You could have equally, if you wanted to, have bought this one in and then retiled in another colour if you didn't want that white blank at the back, and that could have been quite fun to do as well. The nice bit with the grey, and you might see it slightly in a couple of areas, is I actually did my stamping, my colouring, then did the tiling, and I didn't worry about going over the top of the bathtub or over Sebastian. So you can just about see a couple of the tiles over Sebastian if you look really, really, really closely. but I don't even think you're going to see them, to be honest. I weren't worried if you did. I was happy to just build up the texture and the depth to the image. Now I'm hoping you're going to start to see this when I talk about this. I like arty cards. I'm not very good at them. I don't often do them. By an arty card, I mean just clean and simple imagery layered on black card. It always reminds me, and it's not like I can talk from too much experience here, but when you see them sort of modern art galleries, you know, when you've just got that piece of artwork on the wall, little writing underneath that's too small that you can't read it, them sort of galleries, and a price tag you can't afford, lest you win the lottery in 5 countries all on the same day. That kind of artworky, gallery-esque style. And I love making cards that I feel not are that level, but kind of towards that styling. And I always think with this style of imagery, that's a really clean, crisp, quick way to make them. And I mentioned the word quick, and I'm going to be honest with you here. So I had my stamps on day 1. That evening I stamped them and I sat in front of the telly and I coloured in all 12 images, or 11 because one of them's inked, you'll see that in a minute, but all 11 images in about an hour and a half probably, because they're not complicated, very quick to colour. And I'm not a very good colourist, so about an hour and a half genuinely to colour them all in. Then the next day, things got away with me a bit, but I knew I'd got to get this done and get the video filmed. And about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock maybe, I thought, well, I need to get on with carding these coloured in images up. And I was in my room for, I'm going to say 2 hours, 2, maybe 3 hours. So in total, 4.5 hours, I made 12 cards. That's a record for me. I can't normally get anywhere near that speed. Now, these aren't complicated cards, hands up, they're not very easy. Stamped image, a little bit of scribbling, job done. But if you're selling your cards, or you want to make little packs to give away at Christmas, or you're selling packs of them on your stalls at your craft fairs or anything like that, you want quick and easy and you want something that's going to stand out from the crowd. I think these are them. You know, yeah, I might be wrong, but I'm really in love with these. And I feel that they're going to tick a more modern box as well, perhaps, to some products or to some stylings. And I think that these might attract a slightly different audience to your stalls or your stands or to your websites if you're selling them. So yeah, have a look. Also check out the Angel Policy on the Creative Expressions website if you'd like to know more about that. But it is very generous. You can pretty much make and sell as long as you're not bringing in machinery to make them, is pretty much the gist. Trying to remember now. I worked for them for like 4 years, spilled this off weekly virtually, and here I am struggling to remember the exact policy. But it is on there if you want to know more. But it's a very generous policy. It's designed for crafters to be able to craft and sell and to use their makes to make profit for. So you've got more money either for charity or, of course, to reinvest in what you're doing, which is what it's all about. So then let's move on to our next one. Let's go for Spread a Little Kindness. So this one is our Sebastian on the bench with the bird seed, with our little animatronic-esque bird up here. Talking of simple, and I should have saved that sort of chat till I got to this one. I need to put a backing on that because my card blanks, the alcohol inks come through it, but very simple to cut a square and stick it on the back there. But this is a 5x5 card out of the packet, simple as can be, image stamped, little bit of colouring, and then I've stamped Spread a Little Kindness every day underneath it. Simple as you can get. And when I bring this up so you can see it, look at that colouring. Very, very quick, very, very easy, but beautifully done because of Andy's stamping, because of Andy's detail. He's really done the heavy lifting for us. Then I'm going to bring this one up. So you've got Better Together is the sentiment I've used on this one of my pierced panels with a postage edge scallop around it. These are the rectangle dies of mine. And then in the background, you've got the Latin script stamp, that's one of mine, and then a little bit of colouring added onto the front here and a ribbon wrapped around it, mostly to tie in the black. I'd bought in obviously the black stamping with a black panther ink pad, and I'd used our Raven black cardstock, so I just wanted something to bring that more to the front. And I'd left this panel quite big because I wanted you to see this script stamp, have that as the backing, but I needed something up the top here, so hence the ribbon to wrap around it. So it shows you can add more if you want to, but you don't have to. Now, the most popular one so far, since these have launched, has been Rainy Day. And I can see why. How cute is our little Sebastian jumping in the puddle? When we look at these, so I've got 2 cards here to share with you. This one is stamped with my metallic ink pads. So these are my new metallic ink pads, and I've multi-stamped this. So you might see elements of the gold, the silver, the black, and the blue. The only one I didn't use was the purple. in this one, and I do this quite a lot because it's something I like doing, especially with larger stamps, is taking the stamp, putting it onto your block, adding a little bit of colour in one area, stamping that down, cleaning it off, adding a little bit of colour, stamping that down, and just keep repeating and building. And these metallic inks just sort of all work together. And when you're looking at robots and you're thinking of rust techniques, that could work really nicely to build up your sort of rusty look. I wanted to go more blue because of the water and the rain element, so that was where I was aiming for. In the background, I've used a Cogs embossing folder, and I've bought the same colours of ink and I've just brushed them over. So again, you might see elements of gold sitting on top here, you might see the silver, you might see the blue, but I've just give you that little sort of half-inch border all the way around, bringing those colours in and letting them sort of do the speaking. Then we move on to our next one with our little rainy day robot. So again, a little bit of colouring, nothing too complicated. Added in some blue dots here for the rain over the top of Andy's black dots. Added in some colouring from our robot. Went a little bit younger with this one, I felt, in my colouring. Didn't necessarily with the bow and the card, but the imagery I felt sort of lent itself more to children's cards. I think I aged it up a little bit with the layers and the bow and the background. But the actual image, I think, is quite young and fresh and could easily be the beginning of a little storybook where Sebastian goes off to have an adventure in the rainy day or something. I don't know. I'm certainly not an author. But it's quite a fun imagery that you could take into that aspect if you want to. So for this one, I've used my scallop squares with the pierced details, separate pierced details. I've bought them in and I've used them as well so that my panels have got that little pierced detail in. And then in the background, same cog embossing folder and then just a little ribbon wrapped round to finish that one off. Then we move on to our new friends. So this time we've got Big Sebastian, Little Sebastian, and Mini Sebastian, all sitting together under their umbrella. And I even quite like the fact you've got this sort of water theme running through as well, because again, if you do want to do a little storybook, you know, maybe there's some scope there to do Sebastian's many adventures in the rain. I don't know, but I just like that idea of having things that coordinate and run through. Going back to our arty style, so this time very simple, white piece of card, polar white, stamped on, coloured in Falcon markers. When life throws you a rainy day, splash in the puddles put at the top there. That, of course, is the sentiment that comes within our rainy day set, but there's no reason you can't interchange them. They're both rain imagery, which is what I like. Coloured in again with Falcon markers, few little white details added in with a white gel pen just to bring in the white layers. So if you notice the little white elements on the umbrellas and down on the rock, then that's where they've come from, is just with a little white gel pen. Another one to share with you here, so same idea again. Again, heart stencil over the background, blended with the elephant grey and a bit of the Black Panther. Take away the stencil, lightly blend over the background with the grey, just because I wanted to tone this one down slightly. I'd gone a bit darker in my colouring and I wanted the background to match in with that. You don't have to, but it was kind of a choice to try and grey it down a little. Again, I've greyed down the base here to land that sort of image. I often feel this with picture images that have sort of got a gram to them. If you're going to have more in front of it, I didn't want to cut it off, but I don't want this ground bit to a bit like the tiles. Excuse me, a bit like the tiles. I don't want it to look like the room is tiled all the way around. So the same with this one, I want the hearts to look like they're in the air, but not across the bottom. Just my sort of thought on that one. I showed you that one, didn't I? Yeah, you get confused now with what I've shown you. Not good, is it? So on to our last one. Now this one, I love this. This is Time Together. And I know I've said that a lot, haven't I? I love this, but I do. I just think they're all so cute. So this time we've got Sebastian and Teddy Sebastian sat on a little rope swing. Now with this one, and something that I wanted to show you with this one, with the imagery for this, and I'm going to show you, I'll show you both cards at once actually. With the imagery for this, the rope that hangs the swing stops before the top of the balloon. So you've got a couple of choices here in my mind. I've seen a lot of people work with this and they've just done it as an image and they've left it as it is and they've not worried about hanging the swing to the top. That's absolutely fine and you certainly don't have to. And I think it looks really arty, very modern to leave it as it is. But in my world, I wanted to make sure that the swing looked like it was hanging. So what I've done, and I'll show you the two different options. And you don't have to, as I say, it looks lovely without, but I like you to know what I've come up with and what I've done. So with my one, what I did is I took some low-tack masking tape and I have masked off, and you can buy masking sheets for this purpose if you prefer, but I've just made mine out of masking tape or low-tack tape. I've masked off the area that I need so I can get to this part of the rope, the hanging bit, and I've just bought that in and I've loaded it up on my block. I've inked, I've wiped off any excess ink off of the masking tape or low-tack tape, and then I've stamped it down, matching up on both sides, going down to the top part of there. I'll be honest, I was kind of tempted to just cut it off and have that as a separate element that I could then stamp wherever I wanted it to be. And you can do that with your stamps. You know, it's not something often we talk about, but it's your stamp. If you want to cut bits away from them so you can use them as separate pieces, no rules in life, you feel free to. So if you did want to do that, you could cut it off at the top of the ring that holds the swing together. So you've got that whole bit of rope that you could then stamp back where it should be, but easily extend it on all sides. And especially if you wanted more depth, to take that so that the swing was down here and the top of the card was up here, you know, maybe it's on a scrapbook page, then having the ability to do that multiple times could be kind of fun. It's just a different option for you. So that's what I've done here. Extended the swing so it hangs down low enough that I could keep the balloon. Equally, you can just cut the balloon off. You don't have to keep the balloon if you don't want to, and it's not quite there, it's about there. You don't lose a lot, you just lose the top of the balloon. So again, options for you. Coloured in Valcar markers, a few little white dots with white gel pens again, and then on to another option. So all of this sort of chat, talk about making a mountain out of a molehill. Another idea is to put it into a frame, because then the frame can cut away the top bit to take away the ropes if you prefer. So this time I've used my nested tile die set. I've used the Latin script stamp in the background, and I've purposely chose this size of tile die. So you still see the rope, you can still see it running up the inside, but it literally cuts off at the point the rope ends, but it still leaves me that balloon showing through at the top. It's just an idea. Probably not something anybody else in the world ever worried about or ever give thought to. And then I've just coloured in again with Alcohol markers, and then added the better together on one of my little sentiment tabs, a couple of little pearls and a ribbon. And of course this panel's been cut, so not only have I cut out the aperture, I've done the piercing and I've cut the postage rectangle all in one go. So that gives you 12 different examples of what you could be creating with this collection. Now, as I say, genuinely, this is something I've loved working with. I've really enjoyed creating these cards, even in the small amount of time I had with them. I could honestly see box frames being made with these, Christmas presents made with these. You know, you think of, in my world, thinking of different people, thinking of my brother-in-law, thinking of my nephew. Daniel is, I don't know, about 24-ish. Thinking of them type of people that I might want to make a little gift, that I could possibly take an image like this and I could frame it, or I could bring in the little robot one and frame it. You know, I might layer them up differently, but to me, them sort of framing elements could be really cool. You know, again, I think of my niece when I think of this one, her and her partner. That could be a lovely little engagement card. They're not engaged yet, but when they do, I'm sure they will. Or a little anniversary card, or just a little present card. I don't know. I just feel this sort of artwork lends itself to so much more than just cards, but equally is great for cards. But whether you're scrapbooking, you're home decoring, your Christmas presenting, you're making to sell, I just feel that these are images that team together with a few IKEA frames, you could really have a bit of a business going on with this, because they're just so much fun to work with. Genuinely, I just want to sit and play with these forever. So if you fall in love with them and you want to get hold of them, and I'm going to stop waffling because I could waffle for hours and that's the last thing either of us need. But if you would like to get hold of these, you can pop onto the website, you can buy them as a bundle. So your bundle price, I don't think I've even told you your bundle price, have I? We've really got half hour into this video and I've not told you how much it is. I'm so sorry. Honestly, I don't know where my mind is today, taken over by robots, I think. So your bundle price, these should be £53.94. You have over a 20% discount if you choose to buy them all together, making your bundle price £42.99. That's an incredible price to get hold of all of these. And on top of that, of course, if you're on the website or in store, we have loyalty programs for both. You can either take advantage of our in-store loyalty card and collect 42 points, or of course, if you're part of our Inner Circle Rewards program on the website, you're going to get 42 points by buying the bundle. That's a big step in the right direction to your first bonus back if you haven't already got your first bonus. If you spend £125, you get £5 if I remember rightly. And then as you move up the layers or the levels, the tiers I think they're called, then you get more per 125 that you spend. So I think the top level is £7.50 if I remember rightly. But yeah, 42 points towards whatever level you're heading towards. That's quite a big jump, isn't it? So hopefully that's going to help you a little bit too. So yeah, don't just think of your price, think of your rewards as well, because it's nice to have a bonus, isn't it? So yeah, you can of course buy them individually. If you wish to, you get 15% off if you purchase them singly. I told you all the names as we went through them. I won't bore you with them all again, and my love for them. They are £8.99 individually. Your offer price is £7.64. Of course, you're saving more by the bundle, so it's up to you whether you want to just jump in and get one or two or none, or if you want to go for all of them. Personally, I don't know how you're going to pick, because to me, when you look through them, they're just such a fun and lovely collection to play with. So if you do fall in love with them and you'd like to get hold of them, then pop onto the website www.craftmaniacrafts.com. Have a little look under the YouTube tab where you will see our robot collection. Give that a little click and you can go through to the page and you will see everything from the metallic ink pads to the nesting dies to the script stamp to the stencils I've used. All of these goodies will be on that page for you, so you don't have to go searching through to find them all. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I have, just because I've got to talk about all the robots and play with these. But I hope you've enjoyed it too. And if you have, of course, give us a like and a comment letting us know what you think to this collection. Tell us what you're going to do with them. Are you looking at these images thinking you're going to stamp on fabric, you're going to make little pencil cases or tote bags or cushion covers or any of that kind of stuff? Or are you thinking you're going to use them in your scrapbooking, your card making? Are you somebody who makes to sell? Are you looking at this and thinking he's right, that's a great collection for that? Let us know in the comments. We love to know what you're thinking, what your feedback is. Thank you very much for watching today. Look forward to seeing you all again very soon. Bye for now.